Yep. All right, let's call the first item of the agenda is to call the meeting of the Freeman School Board to order. Next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all. Next item on the agenda is the roll call.
Emily?
Yes.
Cody?
Yep.
Doug?
Yes.
Krista?
Yes.
Cody?
Yes.
Great. Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. We'll require a motion to approve the amended agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Doug. Do I have a
Second.
Second by Cody Branson. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, conflict of interest disclosure. I've received none. Next item on the agenda, public input.
Also none.
Next item on the agenda, consent agenda. Will require a motion to approve the following: the minutes of the regularly scheduled board meeting of February 13th, 2023, the minutes of the Corn Belt Cooperative meeting of a Board of Advisors meeting of February 22nd, 2023. The resignation of Stephen Flynn, Cheddar Colony teacher, and we thank him for his service. The contract of Michael Freeman, junior high social studies science teacher for the 2023-2024 school year. The contract of Jesse Allers, head volleyball coach for the 2023 season. The contract of Carly Harberts, junior high volleyball coach for the 2023 season. The contract of Chris Mask, head golf coach for the 2023 season. The contract of Christy Sage, assistant golf coach for the 2023 season. The contract of Seth Walker, assistant track coach for the 2023 season. Financial reports and claims. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Carissa. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Cody Spangler. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, administrative report, starting with elementary principal.
Yeah, I'll start with
Okay.
Ian said he was gonna be here in and out possibly though, given that we have a school day
Sounds
today.
good. We'll shuffle it.
All right, so for us, we've had, I know it hasn't been that long, but I feel like we've gotten a lot of things going on here. So our band students went to contest. All 5 soloists received superior ratings there, as did 8 ensembles. And then 2 ensembles received an excellent rating. I went with that group of students. They did a great job of traveling with each other to support one another in the room, so that was good. A couple of them got lucky and we lost our way in the hall and we maybe didn't get in the room on time, which I think they appreciated, but middle school honor band students who went to Huron, a great job to them. That was Axel Schultz up here on our end, and then Rieslyn Hofer and Liam Loofborough on the other end. Congrats to our coaches and our boys and girls basketball and wrestling teams on a season well done. And then a little extra congratulations to our wrestlers who represented us at state. Here in Freeman, that was Brody Ghost and Easton Cheddar and Ryan Cheddar. Our middle school oral and sport students did a really great job at the Corn Belt Conference competition in Menno. We had 4 students who received top superior. So they got a superior and then they were chosen as the top in their category. So that was good. And then 2 superiors and 1 excellent. Couple of things we've done. Parent-teacher conferences were held. We don't have the best turnout on the middle school, high school side. And I think my teachers felt like it was more than we have had, but that means like maybe, 20 instead of 15 or something. So we did celebrate National FFA Week. That was the week we had snow days. So we got in our Egg Olympics and our hat day, and that's kind of where we ended it. We were going to have a petting zoo, but that didn't work out with the snow, and so we just moved on from there. FFA did host the Pancake Feed on March 3rd. That went well. Having that on the flyer Friday, that went well too. Kids can come, they can eat, they can get some work done, and that goes well. And we can host that then until 10 o'clock on those days, so that's good. Sophomores traveled to Menlo for the annual career fair. That was yesterday. They did a good job down there. They kind of go in, they set up some speed interviews, and then they go around to the different careers there. So that moves from school to school. Last year it was in Marion, this year it was in Menlo. So it just depends on who's volunteering to host. So middle school, high school, partnered up with the elementary for Read Across America Week. We went down there each day during our reading time, did some games, made some butter. I don't remember what else.
Read some books.
Ate some cookies and read some books, yes, so that was fun. And then the leadership class on our end partnered up with the elementary to help them host their third quarter AR party. So just getting the two buildings together, you know, the elementary always appreciates that more than the high school side, but they do a good job. So coming up, we are going to partner up. This literally, I just got this email yesterday. We are going to partner up with Freeman Regional to host a Scrubs camp that will take place here on a regular school day on April 26th. So we'll be working to get that set up. Chris, that'll take place in your gym, so you'll have to use ours. And the reason I asked them to do that is so that way it will also allow kids from other schools to come. They can use that side door to come in and to exit without having to be in our building, if that makes sense. So I felt like that would be the best way to host that on a school day. I do have a question. You guys can figure out how this works or whether you need to have any input on this or decide on. We've been working with student council and the Salis parents to come up with a memorial bench. One thing that they would like to do is put it at the softball fields. We have no idea when those softball fields are going to transpire. And for us here, I feel like now is the time to have that with the students that we have. If that doesn't take place for 10 years, right? Our students now is who need that. So talking with Chris, she would like to provide the bench. She has somebody who's going to build it. The question then is it okay to put that out underneath of the tree? And then when it comes to grounds and buildings, how do you want that to look? Cemented, I have no idea. So just so you know, we're kind of working with that to happen. If buildings and grounds want to have that conversation at a different time to figure that out, that would be good. But just so it's on your radar, I told her I would bring it up here. Third quarter is going to be moved back to March 14th. That will allow, we've missed, I believe, 4 days in quarter 3, and quarter 3 was already 2 days shorter than quarter 4. Now adding, so we're just gonna try to balance it out. So we're putting 2 days into quarter 3. So quarter 3 will end on March 14th, and then we'll move on with quarter 4 from there.
Okay.
Seniors last day, I talked to the seniors already, and I told them that they are going to move their last day up by 2 days, meaning 2 days later that they'll get out on the 9th of May. So they're aware of that. They don't want any more snow days. And then I'm working on a presentation. I got a phone call from a member of South Dakota ABATE. So ABATE stands for a Brotherhood for Awareness, Training, and Education, and really it's motorcycles, right? So they want to come to schools and they have a video about safety and for drivers and paying attention to those types of things. And so they asked if they're trying to get into some high schools and give some presentations on that, especially young drivers who maybe aren't thinking about, taking those extra few seconds to look and stuff. So I'm working on that. I'll let you know more about that. If you look down at the events, a couple of things to point out are, I did get the Highway Patrol presentation scheduled for March 21st. So the K-9 unit will come and do a presentation for the middle school, high school students at 9 o'clock in the high school gym. And then once that, they'll kind of talk about just some of the things that they're seeing right now with what they're doing. And then at 10 o'clock, it'll be more of an elementary style, looking at the dogs and how the dogs work kind of stuff. So that'll happen at 10. And then the other one to take note of is the blood drive on the 29th, if you want to get signed up to donate. The time on our calendar, the LifeServe did call us today. They're changing that time from 9 to 2:30. Not really a big deal for us, but I believe our calendar, and we'll change it to, it says 7:30 to 1:30. So I literally just got that phone call, or Sheila let me know today. It's 9 to 2:30 for that blood drive. And then we'll have prom before our next meeting. So hope to see you all there too.
Thanks, Katie.
Thank you.
Shane?
March 22nd, 23rd is the Birth of Three, the Dial, the preschool screening, and kindergarten roundup. Elementary had their book fair during the week of parent-teacher conferences. They took in $4,200, which was probably pretty good because we did have a snow day in there that kind of hampered some of our sales. Elementary completed their language arts, or on that book fair, half of that is profit, and that money is used for buying books for the elementary library. That's our really only source of buying books for the elementary library. Elementary completed their language arts curriculum. Actually, yesterday morning, we completed it. We looked at 4 different curriculums. We spent all last Friday sitting on webinars, learning about the different curriculums. And then we got back together yesterday morning and discussed the pros and cons, and basically the teachers voted on it. They picked into reading and into literature. And one of the problems when you're looking at curriculums, some curriculums are K-5, some are K-6, some are K-8, but it's hard to get one that actually fits with the colony. But the curriculum that our teachers picked actually is a K-12 curriculum, so there is an opportunity to actually have the same curriculum align from kindergarten through 12th grade, which is almost unheard of this day and age. And I think these language arts teachers sat on one of them, and we're trying to get them access to look at the high school curriculum with that curriculum that the elementary adopted. Elementary room structure plan for next year. The plan next year is to move kindergarten and first grade into the Growing Dreams wing. We would move the special needs sensory room back to where it was, so they're side by side. And then we would move Victoria, the 3rd grade. So in the Growing Dreams, it would be kindergarten and first grade. And then around the corner, Jada's going to move to 3rd grade. And then Victoria will move right next to her. So it'll go 3rd. And then we'll leave the 2nd grade teachers. It'll go 2nd. And then the other wing, it'll be 4, an empty classroom, 5, 6. So everyone except for the 3rd and 2nd grade room will have an extra classroom to be able to go do stuff, but they can just go around the corner. So that's the plan as far as how we're going to structure the elementary next year. And then the elementary spring concert, it doesn't seem like spring, but the spring concert is next Tuesday, I believe.
Awesome. Shane? Next on the agenda is Superintendent Administrative Report.
At the February meeting, the board voted up to $23,000 for a batting cage. So I've been reaching out to different companies, getting quotes for batting cage. We had one that came back very favorable with that dollar figure, just shy of $18,000. We're still, the entire install, the entire package to install this batting cage needs to meet that less than $23,000 requirement. So we're still waiting on a quote for the electrical. Still exploring what the best option is for protecting the floor underneath the batting cage when that is used. So we're not quite at the point where we're ready to move forward with that, but we're getting closer. It's looking like the install is a minimum of 8 weeks for the design and install. So it's not going to be a possibility for the softball season, but nice to know that we have a good option moving forward, and we'll have that available for future seasons. Legislative session is wrapping up this week. I had the Mitchell superintendent meeting yesterday, and the feedback that I received at that meeting is that things are looking very favorable for a 7% increase in public education. So initially, the governor had built 5% into her budget. So to hear that they're talking up to 7%, that's a very good thing. So I'm curious as the week finishes out here if that number holds true or if it goes up or down. So, but we should have an answer by the end of the week here. I spoke to Randy Kerner and let him know that at the last meeting the board accepted his quote for the handicap accessible walkway out front of our building. So he has us on his summer list. So looking that that'll get completed during the summer months. Stemming off of what Shane had mentioned with the moving of classrooms, I'm working with the elementary teachers right now. Dawn, Kim, and Kylie are taking the lead on this one, and I appreciate them doing that work. They're going to communicate with the rest of the staff down there, and we met this morning and discussed what are some of the options for compensation for those days in those summer months. And I also spoke with Debbie, and what we're leaning towards right now, and more information will be coming at the April meeting, but what we're leaning towards right now is that they would get comp days for the teachers for the 2 days that they come in to move classrooms around, and then those comp days can be used next year. For the paras, it's just cleaner if we have paras, just timesheet those hours and pay the paras outright. So we'll do a little bit more brainstorming and gather a little bit more feedback from staff and have a few more conversations in-house here before we discuss this at the board level in April.
That's good. Thanks, Jake. Next item on the agenda is unfinished business. There is none. Next item on the agenda, new business. The school board will hold a discussion about making up recent snow days.
So we had the 5 days that were built into the calendar, and then we had 2 days that were staff days, and then we had the 2 days that were the recent student contact days. So I put together a proposal with recommend for amendment of the 2022-2023 school year calendar. And that recommendation is that the previous last day of school was May 12th, and that was a early release day. That we add the 2 days, the most recent 2 snow days, to the 15th and the 16th and make them student contact days. And that on the 12th, that early release get moved to the 16th, so the last day of school be moved to the 16th. And that would make up for those 2 days. And then in addition to that, those 2 staff days would be 16 hours that staff would complete during the summer months of Flex PD time. So we've had some positive feedback with Flex PD. We're still working some kinks out with Flex PD, but it'd be nice to have that time for staff to be able to do some professional development. Within those 16 hours, I've shared with the principals that not all of that 16 hours would have to be professional development time. That could be classroom grading, final exam grading. But in our discussion at cabinet this week, they agreed that a good amount of that 16 hours should be spent on professional development, because that's a priority around here. We want to make sure that staff are continuing to do different videos or classes that are going to help them to continue to grow professionally as well. So today, the board would have to decide if we want to go this direction and add those 2 days on. We are still within the amount of time that we are required from the state, so that's not necessarily a worry for the board to take into account. Would be just the amount of time that kids are in the classroom learning, and that we are learning the content that's necessary to be able to advance to the next grade level and move forward. So the board could decide that those days are not added on at the end as well. It'll be up for discussion today.
What's been feedback from classroom teachers as far as, having those extra 2 days to complete maybe curriculum and things that they had on their syllabus to complete for the semester?
As far as the student contact days or the PD time?
No, the student adding those extra 2 snow days.
I would steer that question towards the principals. They probably have had more conversation with teachers than I have.
I mean, any feedback one way or the other?
I mean, for us, it'll just move our semester tests, so.
Okay.
Just allowing some more time so that way then we can have those semester tests. I don't think I ever went and asked, hey, do you really want to add 2 days to the count? No. I just assumed we were, so I didn't give them a choice if that's what you're asking. There might be some in here you could ask, though. We value education, that's what they want to say.
Right, okay.
Ask the seniors what they think
Opportunity for
about
some
it.
student feedback too, if anybody.
They know what that means for them.
Because these are all seniors that it's affecting them more than others. I thought you guys were going to boo Mrs. Yunke.
I did too.
Well, if the assumptions we're adding 2 days, I would hate to disappoint. So,
I think it's reasonable. We're still ending in the middle of May.
I'd like to add the 2 days now, and then if we have any more snow days, then we get rid of extras,
Have a little bit of, wiggle room then.
I would agree with that.
because we're probably gonna,
Yeah,
I would think so.
early May.
So we add these 2 and that's the cap. We won't add any more additional ones.
That's what I would say. Well, it doesn't give you free rein, just to start canceling school all the time.
And this end date will then be similar to next year's end date as well, because
Right.
we end a little late.
With adding these 2, it will be.
It'll be similar to next year's end date, yeah.
I think it's reasonable to add them.
I'll make that motion then, Emily, to add those 2 days to the end of the year.
All right, so Cody has provided a motion to add those additional 2 school days to make up recent snow days to the 2022-2023 school calendar. Do I have a second?
second.
Second by Doug. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Next time on the agenda, we'll require a motion to approve the special board meeting on March 28th, 2023 for the purpose of teacher negotiation. I know we talked about potential dates. Does that still work for everybody?
Is that a 7 PM one, or?
That was proposed, originally proposed, yes.
Yep, it's a Tuesday.
Works for me.
Yep.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, great. All right, then I will require a motion to.
Looks like, but we're on the 28th of March, so we're just gonna
Cody
wing
just goes
it.
where he's told. Okay. We'll require a motion to approve the special board meeting on March 28th, 2023 for the purpose of teacher negotiation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Cody Franzen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Carissa. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next time on the agenda, the school board will discuss adding a district policy for the review and adoption of library books. So Jake, I don't know if you want to give a little bit of background as far as like the legislative bill that was introduced and.
Sure, yeah, recently there was a legislative bill that was introduced that ultimately was removed, but that would have required districts to filter the library books that they have within their libraries, and then to remove any content that was on a list of content that would be deemed inappropriate for a school library. So that did spark, the thought of, well, do we have any of that such content in our library? And we have discovered that there are, some books that have some adult reading content that are part of that, and I think that's something that at the board level we need to discuss. Do we want to put together some sort of a filtering process, review process? Do we want to add some policy that currently does not exist? We have no policy. We have a practice that's in place, but we have no policy that's in place for what content the board would like to see be present in our school library. So that'd be something that the board could discuss and decide in which direction we want to go with this. I did reach out to a few of our neighboring districts. Scotland and Menno both have a combined library with the city. So that does complicate things a little bit. If we decided to remove some of that content, we would have to decide what is our tolerance and what do we view as inappropriate for a school library. And then we would not be saying that kids couldn't read that content, I would imagine, but we would just be saying we're not going to provide that here in our building, but there is other places where you could access that content, like our local library.
Sure.
Have not heard back from Marion yet. Canastota had the approach. This was more of a practice than a policy, but more of the approach that all content should be available for kids, and that content should never be controlled, and they should have the ability, if they wish, to read that content. A few other people that I ran it by the Corn Belt superintendents. Parker's another district that actually has a policy in place. They provided that policy so we could look at and decide if that's something that we'd like to adopt, and if the board wishes, and after discussion today, if we'd like to take this to the policy review committee, that could be a very appropriate place to develop that policy if the board desires to go that direction.
What's our current policy both for kids checking out books as well as for the current filtering process that we have for books in our library, just for my knowledge?
And I'm not aware of what we have for our current practice as far as filtering. Katie might be able to add to that, but if we...
I mean, who chooses, the books that are in the library, things like that?
So the English teachers usually give a list of books to the secretary to order to put into the library. My understanding is a couple of things that they look at in order to help choose those books would be, does it have an AR quiz for it, which, that means somebody's reading it and creating this quiz for students to take. They might look at, usually, if it's on Scholastic, it's probably
Right.
appropriate. And then I think the other thing that they told me would be what's the most popular, on the list? But usually, even with the popular list, they're looking to make sure that it has the AR piece to it as
Sure,
well.
sure.
So, yeah, they don't read every book, obviously.
Yeah, who could?
you know, But, that's my understanding of how that works at this point right now.
The author, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just the English teachers guide that a little bit.
Oversees like the checking out of the books. Like, who do you-
I should add also, we do get donations to the library from parents as
Sure.
well. Like if they've read all of these books, they might hand a whole box of books in.
Sure,
So-
that makes sense. Okay.
Does the SBSD have a sample policy?
They do not.
And then were you asking about checkout?
Yeah.
Teachers.
They just go to, on the elementary side, they would go, the teacher
Oh,
has
sure.
library time.
Yes.
Here, they just they come in, check the book out, take it to April, and she
Oh, sure.
types it into the
Gotcha, to make
system.
sure that they know
'Cause we
what it's
don't-
at.
Yeah, we don't have library.
Right, yeah. Absolutely. I think it's reasonable, you know, considering that it's obviously beyond Freeman if, you know, others even have practices, policies in place, and that it was a topic at the state legislature level to at least, you know, get input, I think, from like the language arts teacher, you know, teachers and things like that as far as, and through maybe through the policy review committee to see if we can provide, you know, kind of our own guardrails that align with the mission of our school. I don't know what anybody else has thoughts as far as how to proceed. I mean, I think, you know, it's worth at least having a conversation, getting more information, seeing what a policy would look like and how that would further impact before we just, you know, knee-jerk reaction, put something into place. I think it would require more time and attention to make sure that we do, you know, if we do put something into place, that it's appropriate for a district.
I think after seeing the content in the books in question that we have in the library right now, that we need to put a policy in place.
I would agree.
We're not looking for litigation.
So also like,
There's two, I mean, if those books, if these people want to read those books, there's plenty other avenues that they can go out and get it. I feel as a school board, we shouldn't be providing it to our students to read.
Right.
They can, if they want to read it, they can go elsewhere, but we did not provide that for them.
Right.
Sorry, policy committee, you're going under the bus.
that's fine.
I
So,
would happily champion a policy to, I don't want to have a conversation with any parent about why my kid came home with what I read.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
so when they have laptops, I mean, they can't just go anywhere on the internet. If they try to go somewhere, does it stop them?
There's
So
firewalls in
same kind of
place.
thing, there should be
We have filters on there.
filters for the books too.
They always find the holes in the filters.
They're good at that.
You'll have
And I
all
will
kinds
say
of
this
traffic in the
too,
library
like,
now.
those books in question, they have an AR quiz. If you look them up, they are meant for sophomore through seniors. And I'm not saying that they're appropriate, but what I'm saying is, even with the policy in place, there are going to be books like that get through, because we're not reading every book
Yeah.
that comes through. So I think within the policy, what you need, more than a policy on how it's filtered in, I think what you need is, what's a way in which, if your child brings a book home like that, and you find out that that's the content, how can you respectfully put in a request to say, this book needs to be looked at or red flagged or addressed? So we have that understanding that we know that it's not perfection, but
Especially
there
not with
are
like
going
a
to be
full-time
times.
library here, you know, librarian
And
here.
then maybe
as well.
that book gets read, right? That book then gets read, reviewed, and then it's decided from whatever, yes, it stays, or no, it goes, right? Because I could not want you to read Harry Potter, right? And then we need to decide, is that, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Yeah, there needs to be.
there just
a clear
isn't, when I look
process.
that book up, there's nothing that red flags that book until you read it.
Right.
I mean, it's really meant for sophomores. I mean, it even says that, sophomores through seniors. It's popular, it's sophomores through seniors, it has an AR quiz. To me, those are all the things that we're going to check mark to ensure that it's okay,
Of course.
but then it isn't.
Right.
So
It's not going to be perfect, yeah.
during the checkout process, does it have like what age level it's meant for, you know what I mean? So like a freshman or eighth grader comes in and grabs AKA that book and we're to bring it in and check it
You know,
out.
it has a reading level.
Okay.
That doesn't necessarily mean it has a maturity content rating.
exactly.
That book also in question says not rated. right? So there's no rating on it. So, the thing is if you're a seventh grader and you're reading at this level, right? Most books are written at a seventh grade reading level. That's just a standard level for adults. That's where most adults read. So I don't think that that would give you an indication. This particular book, when I went on Amazon, is where I found that it said sophomore through 12th grade. So April does not have time to look on Amazon every time someone checks out a book, but you know what I mean? Like there just was no indication of that within, I mean, that book's from 2017, but there was no indication of those things. So I'm just saying, like, though we're not gonna catch it all. We can have a policy, but let's have also an understanding that we.
I like the process for
we can
reporting.
still red flag.
And, yes,
Yeah.
reporting and adjusting
I
as
would think we
needed.
need to maybe look at three things: policy, protocol, and then type of book. I don't think the policy and the protocol can be the same for nonfiction versus fiction.
Yeah.
'Cause we're not changing historical events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that we do have going for us too, and some other libraries don't, is we have a 712 library and we have a K6 library. We're not putting the content of these books in that library. Right. So I mean, that's it's helpful. Doesn't solve all the problems, but it at least helps on that sense of things. So
Where do we source our books from?
where do we get them from?
It was
A
Scholastic.
lot of times it's Scholastic, yeah.
Is there obviously not everybody's going to read every book they order, but I'd have to think whoever's sourcing these have vetted them to some degree.
Well, you would think, but again, then it depends on
again,
what, you know, I remember when I was teaching in the classroom, there was a book that came out through Scholastic. Actually, Scholastic sent it to me as a free book, and you know, it had a controversial issue in it, and I had a parent call me and say, "Oh my, why is this book in your library?" And I said, "Well, I mean, it came from Scholastic. I would have assumed the same thing, right? That this
They do an
should be
appropriate vetting
okay.
process.
It's a kid book company. Like, that's the point. So that's what I mean. I just know that.
Well, and different parents have different tolerance.
Correct.
As well, so it's hard to find something that fits also. I really like incorporating a process, you know, first of all, having guardrails in place, but then second of all, if this does happen, that there's an appropriate pathway to report it, have folks, you know, look the book over for more information and then decide, does this fit within our mission or, you know, of the district or not? So I like that that's included. Okay,
I think you'd have something ready to present by
April? Or
May meeting. April meeting's gonna be pretty full.
Yeah.
It is, May
Yeah.
meeting. Or at least some discussion items, maybe.
Yeah.
That's great. I would like to get, input from our
We're gonna have 3
teachers
reads.
that order
Draft
books.
them anyway, but
Important to get their input as well.
just looking to get it done before next
I
school
will
year.
say that
Absolutely.
we did not order any books for the high school library for years. So like 3 years ago, we put in a budget so that we could get books. Otherwise, you know, I don't know if, does Scholastic do a high school book fair? Like, we used to have a book fair.
Diane used to have a
Yeah.
book at the high school.
You need to get more for
Yeah.
the budget.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Debbie.
What's the frequency that kids actually check out books?
That varies.
Well, if they're either checking them out from here, or they're bringing their own, or they're going to the public library. I mean, so, we have SSR every single day for 20 minutes. Kids are reading, right? Seniors, not so much. They have some privileges during that time.
I bring my.
But the 7th through 11th graders are reading.
It's about choices. Okay. Yep. Okay, so I think we have a good path forward. The policy committee meet and get feedback to the staff as well, to see kind of what kind of policy would fit best. And I like Doug's comment as well about having different guidance for fiction versus nonfiction as well. Just taking that into account, but we'll plan to revisit probably at the May school board meeting. Plenty of time. Thanks, everybody, for your input. Appreciate that. All right, next on the agenda, school board will hear a policy review committee report and perform the second reading of the following district policies. There's a lot of them. So these are all the second reading. So,
Ones that are on the agenda would be a second reading.
Right.
I did add in your packets.
Yeah, I saw.
Some additional policy negotiations. We have 5 policies that are in place, guiding the board through negotiations, from negotiations legal status to goals to ground rules, or 2 documents on ground rules, ground rules and procedures, and then the scope of negotiations. You have time to read those before negotiations on the 28th, and then I did not print all of them this time. I decided to save some trees, and they're really, from the first reading to the second reading, there was only one policy that had a fairly significant amount of changes, so I printed that one, and that's policy GCPD, and that's for resignation of professional staff members. Shane and I were having a conversation about this, and it's been a practice, and it's been past policy that if a teacher resigns late in the year, that puts us in a very difficult spot as far as being able to replace them, that there would be liquidated charges or damages, however you want to refer to it as. And that was spelled out in detail in our previous board policy. When we went to the ASBSD model, that did not get added to the ASBSD model, so I just took the previous policy, and which has been our practice, and added that to our policy, so we blended the 2.
Okay. Okay, any other comments from the Policy Review Committee? Any further discussion about these? There's no further discussion. I will take a motion to approve those listed policies.
Actually, this is just second reading.
Perform the second reading. Apologies. No, I don't even need to make a motion. Perfect. All right. Easy. Great. All right. If there's no further discussion, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is adjournment. We'll require a motion to adjourn the regularly scheduled March 9th, 2023 Board of Education meeting at 9:37 a.m. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Cody Franzen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Doug. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned. Next regularly scheduled Freeman School Board meeting is Monday, April 10th, 2023 at 7 p.m. in the high school library. Thanks everybody for coming.
No. You did write pretty nice.
Not bad, it's got a little spotty. I wouldn't. I'm kind of a pencil now.
We like that work. Nice.
Just tried the Sharpie gelling. It's not bad.
Thank you, seniors.
No, the 47's about perfect.
Kind of nice to have a
10's too big, the 5's too small.
I did find a couple.
Never thought I'd have even had on them.
And they got a couple months at 485. And the minimum was only 10,000, so, I mean, it's not a lot.
Where was that at?
That was through Home Federal.
You at school that day?
Yeah. But that's who, I talked to the business manager, stands
We're committed to it now.
super up there.
I was told I need to go find my old.
That's the best one they had found so far, the card store.
Oh, boy, what if you put them in?
She hasn't got back to me.
I ended up facing it.
No.